reported violation only after the violation has been done. Lack of hygiene maintained in the particular hotels. The food department of Karnataka has conducted various raids in different kinds of 5-star hotels and 3-star hotels. So the issue basically starts from farm to table. Food safety will not, it's not a burden of anyone. Now it is burden shared by central, state and the food operators. Hi guys, welcome to UPSC Academy. Recently, the food department of Karnataka has conducted various raids in different kinds of 5-star hotels and 3-star hotels. For what did they found basically? Rotten meat, expired food, numerous liters of expired milk also. So all these were used to provide food for the guests who are coming to that particular restaurant. Now this is a very alarming concern when it comes to health of public, okay, public health. Now if this is the case in what we call as 5-star hotels, then what is the situation in other hotels? Okay, now this is very alarming. So in this regard, in this particular video, we'll understand what is this basically issue is and what are regulations it's there when it comes to food regulation. Okay, so now we'll start with, as you all know, as I told you earlier, on 7th of August, Karnataka Food Safety and Drug Administration did a surprise visit of 26 3-star hotels and 5-star hotels, and what they found: expired food, fungus affected vegetables, unhygienic kitchen and improper storage and mislabeling. And they have taken 35 samples, were sent to the testing, and notice were issued for this this food business operators. Now what the report says, basically all were of this contamination. Now if you see some of the 5-star hotels, if we can name some of the 5-star hotels like Radisson, Taj, Lalit and Four Seasons, Shangri-La. So these are well-known hotels which are known for their hospitality and especially the hygiene which they maintain. However, what we actually see here, almost 150 kgs of expired food was there, okay, and which includes different kinds of chicken, which is basically your meat, non-veg items, and if you see this Lalita and Ashok, and here what we see, 32 liters of milk were expired, okay, and expired use of vegetables. So these are some of the examples how it actually, what and all we have witnessed. Now what is the main concern is? The main concern is your public health. So if this is the situation in these kinds of hotels, so what is the situation in other roadside hotels? So in this regard, we'll understand this. Now what they found: expired food, okay, rotten produce, unhygienic kitchens and cold chain break, and here also non-segregation and mislabeling. Some of the things which we basically the official find when they went to this particular hotels. Okay, now we'll understand what is actually the inside depth. Now here, how depth the food safety in India safety problem are. Okay, food safety in India. So what we have seen here, it is only the tip of an iceberg. Like if you see this reported violation, only after the violation has been done. Say for example, officials will write, or the consumer will basically not give complaint, or visible outbreak. Only then these are only the tip of an iceberg. The problem is only we came out when we took initiatives. However, there are problems which are already existing. Say for example, now patients self-treated at home, they are not reported because now their health is affected because of this unhygienic food. And even if you see ill reporting of stomach infection, see now what happens whenever we eat outside, we tend to see what, okay, stomach upset has happened because of we eat it outside. But do we report that to the officials? No. Okay, now these are some of the very important things. Now contaminated source never identified, consumers will not file any complaint, and even symptoms appear after long consumption. Now these are the things which are not reported. Okay, now these are this is the hidden reality, what we can call as hidden reality, where people are not able to report what are the concerns they are facing. Now here, what we have seen till now, it is initiative taken by the officials, not complaint by the consumers after taking this food. Okay, so now these are basically warning signals for this particular issue. Now the issue is much more deeper. Now the issue basically starts from farm to table. Okay, now even in farm also, if you start from farm farming, what is happening? Pesticides, contaminated waters, antibiotics, residue fungals are there at the start of the source of the basically your food. Okay. Now in processing, adulteration is done. Adulteration, food additive and contaminated emissions. So here also now we only saw about hotels. This is the last part. Now what is, now we are seeing from the initial part of this. Okay, transportation, whether the vehicle is well sanitized every time when the food is basically transferred, and if you see raw and cooked food together, they are placed together, and in storage, expired products, incorrect refrigerating, and fungus and pest will also spread during storage, and hotel kitchens, which we have already discussed because of lack of hygiene maintained in the particular hotels. Okay, so this basically what it is, not only at the hotels, even from the farm also, from farm to table, we have these different kinds of contamination is happening of this food. Now, if this contamination is happening and if this continues for very long time, it is actually the public health which is get affected. Now, this will affect what? Our labor force also, yes, and number of people who are falling ill will also increase, and that lead to increase in medical bill. Now, if medical bill is increased, so the entire family will come in the web of poverty, right? So, this is how basically happens. Okay, so if you see this, now we have food safety framework, what we call as FSSAI, Food Safety and Security Authority of India. Now, Food Safety and Standard Act 2006. This is a very important act where it mandates, principle safeguard food safety law. Okay, it consolidated what earlier food laws were there, and it basically says, it's a legal thing where it will protect the food safety. Okay, because of food safety we have introduced this. Now what is it primarily talks about primary responsibility. Now who is the primary responsibility for the safety of food? Yes, governments are there, so union government and state government are there. However, the hotelers or the hotel person who is running that particular hotel or the restaurant, he is the primary responsible. Okay, now if you see the food business operators, hotels, restaurants and manufacturers has the primary duty to provide safety. Absence of inspection doesn't remove their primary responsibility. Now they can't ignore saying that the food safety responsibility of government, now our duty is to provide food. No, it doesn't work like that. So it basically says whoever is doing this particular restaurant or the hotel part, they have to make sure that is foods are served very safely. Now what is the role of FSSAI? Role is to set scientific based standards, framework and regulations, and recognize laboratories and support trainings. So whoever, okay, especially for whom? Officials. Okay, all these things are done by FSSAI. Now key distinction is FSSAI is a licensed authority, a business to operate, and does not guarantee permanent hygiene. Now before obtaining the license, the FSSAI basically says, it says some of the rules that let's say there has to be an hand washing basin, and every vessels has to be washed every day. So these kinds of standards are being set. After this only the license will be given. However, the FSSAI roles end here. After giving license, the FSSAI will no longer be connected. Only the officials on the ground are connected to this particular thing. Now this is very important. Okay, now one is FSSAI. This act basically says it will set what? Science standard framework of the food maintenance and recognized laboratories for testing and analysis of this particular thing, and enforcement chain. It will also establish commissioners, officers and courts for grievance redressal, consumer protection and food business. All will come under this one particular act that is known as Food Safety and Standards Act. Okay. Now who enforce food safety? Now there is different role for central government. It has different role for state government, and the business operators have different roles. So when it comes to central government, enactment of legislation, either it is established uniform form, regulate imported food which is imported from the outside the country, regulate surveillance, national surveillance, recognize laboratories where the food can be tested, and provide scientific and technical guidance, and oversee centralized license. Now here the main role comes of state government. Though it will provide all the regulatory framework, here the implementation is done by the state government. Now state government will appoint state food safety official, recruit food safety officers, conduct inspections and collect samples, and acts on the complaint, and maintain state and suspends state licenses which is given by the state government. Now food businesses, they will what? They will verify the suppliers, that is their role, how to maintain the food safety and maintain kitchen hygiene, control strong temperature, okay, and rest everything like train food handling, prevent cross contamination. So these are some of the measures which the responsibility of food business operators. Now food safety will not, it's not a burden of anyone. Now it is burden shared by central, state and the food operators. Okay, so this is how they'll share the burden, and you have to remember food safety is coming under the concurrent list of our three lists, which is union, state and concurrent. Now since it is coming in concurrent list, both central and state government are working together. Okay. Now after this, why enforcement is failing? One is weak surveillance. Okay, inspection is not done on regular basis. Okay, randomly it is done. Year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years once, the regular. So that is one is weak surveillance, and those basically what these surveillance or the inspections are done only when there is any news broke out about, let's say there is some if any news broke out regarding contamination of the food, only then the regulations has been done. Rather, individual initiatives are not taken by this particular organizations. One is capacity limited. Now officers are basically what? Not trained in order to understand this. Okay, in order to understand, not sufficient training is provided for this also, and laboratory availability, unevenness, okay, and weak sample transportation. When it comes to rural areas, hardly you will find any of the inspection done in rural areas. Even in rural areas, it is done. Food contamination is happening, and they have limited capacity to do that. If you see fragmented and traceability, fragmented is basically it's a coordination between different ministries or the different departments is not there. That is why it's very fragmentation. And traceability, it is basically what? From the farm to the ultimate table or the food table, the traceability is not very, there is no specific guideline for this. Okay, there is no specific guideline for this from farm to table. It is only, we are talking about table part, not from the farm to the table. Okay, now this is there. And weak deterrence, where penalty is very weak. No, basically what is the punishment? The punishment is very weak. That's why people are lethargic basically. Okay, so this is also one of the weaknesses. Now what we can do? One is from reactive right to preventive food. What we can do is inspection after complaint. Currently what we are doing is reactive. We have to be preventive. Okay, risk based inspection, hazardous control at every stages. More scrutiny has to be done for the high risk business. Digital temperature and expiry records, and batch level traceability and prevention. So now is risk based inspections should be done. Farm to fork technologies and mandatory training for all. Okay, even for the hotelers, how to maintain hygiene, that has to be given. Like we can link it to the skill development. Okay, in order to maintain hygiene in this particular areas, and graded penalties, poor hygiene rating should be done, where consumers basically can rate the hygienist of that particular hotels, and digital record has to be maintained for each and every, whether it is expiry date, okay, whether it is temperature and suppliers data, all has to be digitalized. So these are some of the measures what we can basically take in order to make sure we provide safety and well hygiene food for the public. So in order to make sure public health is very, safeguarded. Okay, so this is all about what we have basically learned. What is this issue is all about, and whose role is what, whether the role of central government, state government, and we also learned how this is just a tip of an iceberg, and there was much more deeper concerns. Okay, that also we have learned. And what is the role of FSSAI? Okay, FSSAI also we have learned, and we have understood what are the preventive measures, or the preventive measures, as we have told, preventive systems which can be developed in order to make sure that this things won't repeat regularly. Okay, and I hope this is very informative for you, and you found very useful. Thank you so much.